Parents, players, welcome to the parent-player meeting for the Oaks Tornadoes football 2021 football team. The first thing I'm going to show you here is our schedule. This is our game schedule, varsity game schedule. We open our season on Friday, August 20th with a home game against Beulah. And then you can see as it goes, we have an away game at Harvey, Wells County. And then our region schedule starts with a home game against Oak Grove. And then all the way down to our last game of the year scheduled on October 15th, which will be against Sargent County. And that game will be at Milner. Homecoming and senior night are listed there. Our JV football schedule is also attached here on the bottom. I will attempt to switch screens here. Here's our practice schedule, and really the big thing here is the first practice, Thursday, August 5th. We will start practice at 7 a.m. So I'd really like it if the boys are there, ready to go by 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. Friday and Saturday, we will also practice starting at just before 7 o'clock. I will attach this document so it will be on the website and also on our activities calendar, so you'll be able to find the practice schedule in multiple places. Our coaching staff for the first time in many years is really unchanged. I'm obviously the head coach. I will be the offensive coordinator, coach quarterbacks and defensive backs. Coach Nolan Peterson will continue to be the defensive coordinator. Coach O-line and linebackers. Coach Jeff Miller will be in charge of our special teams and the offense for the JV. We'll also coach running backs and tight ends and defensive linemen. Coach Sean Karajan will be helping out with the wide receivers, the DBs, and in charge of the special teams on the JV side of things. Coach Lynch and Coach Snyder will continue to help out as much as they can beyond their junior high coaching responsibilities, but they will be around on the varsity side of things too. If you don't have my contact information, you can find it here, my school, the school number, and then my cell phone and email address. Best way to get in touch with me is one of those last two, the cell phone or my email address. General information for the upcoming season, and I go through this every year, really hasn't changed much, but football is a team game. It's going to take individual sacrifices and commitment to the team to be better. It's really a team first attitude. We have to make sure that our attitude is always we before me. We have to all be striving to better the team in everything we do. Players are always under the critical eye of our community, and not just our community, the community in the whole state, really. And we need to control our image. We need to be in first class in everything we do. We need to control our actions. Social media is a big thing. Parents, if you're not aware of what your students are doing on social media, I really suggest that you take a look at what they're doing on social media, that you're keeping tabs on who they're following and what they're liking. It's important that you understand, and players also, you understand that when you like something on whatever platform, TikTok or Instagram or whatever it might be, when you like something, that's a indication that you're agreeing with whatever's said. So just be aware of that and control that. The big 5 things that need to be a focus in our program: attitude, effort, preparation, body language, and focus. I think this quote encapsulates all those things. That mental weakness blames, while mental toughness focuses on how we get better, and kind of falls back into that first thing, that football's a team game, and without one part of the 11 guys on the field doing their job, success is not going to follow. Parent information. Remember that parents, if he's got it, I'm going to, as a coach, work to find it. And that's my job. And then I'm going to send him home. You give him a hug and tell him good job. And you love him. And that's your job. So my job and your job. And that's the difference. I don't want you to be his coach. I don't want you to, talk about the negative things that might have happened in a game or anything like that. I want you to be his support. I want you to be there to fall back on, if your son has a rough day or a tough practice or a game that didn't go the way they wanted it to go. I want you to be their support system. And really the first thing and really the only thing that your athlete wants to hear after the game is that you loved to watch them play. And I really I ask you to really try to focus on those things and try to get your player to understand that you love to watch them play the game of football. Playing time is earned in practice and it's determined by the coaches. You're invited to come and watch our practices anytime you want. You guys know where our practice field is. You know when we practice. If you want to come and watch, you can stand outside the practice and watch anything we do. Anytime there's a discussion about, your son, anytime another player's name comes up, we're not going to talk about other people's sons or athletes that aren't yours. Play calling determined by the coaches. All the preparation and scouting that we put into it is something that we really pride ourselves on, and play calling is not going to be discussed with parents. Remember that about 15% of the time that I spend with your son is what you see, and that's the games. The other 85% is practices and workouts and things like that. So you're seeing very little of the actual amount of time that we're putting in with your student athletes. Anytime there's some sort of line of communication about, those things we talked about earlier, playing time, things that come up, I stress that I really like you to allow your student athlete to come and talk to their coach, to me, about something. And then if it's not resolved, then we can talk to the parents about it. We can involve the player. We can involve the athletic director and then the administration as each level continues on up. Practice and lifting, if anything is unexcused, these are the expectations that'll be followed through with. The biggest thing is I just stress that if anything comes up, to send me a text message or to shoot me an email, and that basically will cover your student athlete from any sort of undue punishment or extra equipment detail or anything like that. If something comes up, I understand it. There's going to be things that come up for me, and I'm going to miss part of something, or I'm going to be late for some reason to something, and communication is key there. We all know that cell phone in our pocket, it's a lifesaver sometimes, and shooting a quick text to me is pretty easy before we escalate to having some sort of unexcused absence. Miscellaneous information. Remember, we need to get our physicals in before a student can practice. Need to have 9 practices before a student can participate in a contest. We'll take care of impact testing throughout the fall camp schedule here before school starts. I'll have a schedule that I'll put out, give to the boys about that. Your student athlete will also get a copy of the student athlete handbook that you and your student will need to sign. And make sure to read those things. Those are the rules and regulations that our school board have put forth that we have to follow. Check your helmet. Make sure that it's fitting properly, that screws are tight, that things are fitting correctly. Really important that that helmet is performing at its peak. Hydration. We're gonna weigh your student athletes before practice and after practice, and I'm gonna ask them to drink a certain amount of water depending on how much weight they lose. I want to keep our athletes healthy, and one of the best ways to do that is to keep them hydrated. The second best way to do that then is to make sure that they're getting enough sleep and that they're eating good food. Sleep is just it's so huge. Lots of studies out there nowadays saying that athletes that are not getting 8 hours of sleep are 15 to 20% more likely to suffer injuries. Athletes that aren't eating right, that are not getting proper nutrition, even more chance that they're going to get hurt. Want to make sure that at every practice, every single time we meet, that our students have shoes for indoor practice. If there's ever rain or lightning or anything like that, practice is not going to get canceled. It's just going to get moved indoors. Any equipment that is checked out is responsible to that player at the end of the year. If that player doesn't return something or something comes back damaged beyond what I believe to be something that would have happened during the course of a football season, then you're responsible to pay for that equipment. Oops, I went a little too fast there. And then really communication on any injury or possible injury. Please just communicate with me about anything that you hear at home from your student athlete. And boys, please, if you're still watching this, which I hope you are, just communicate with me if something is sore, if something is hurting, then we need to make sure and treat that and stay on top of it before it becomes something more serious. Like I said, eligibility, we need to make sure that the handbook is our guide on that. There has been a couple of changes to our class schedule and things like that, so we need to make sure and stay aware of all those things. Curfew, I will leave up to your parents and guardians. If we're subscribing to that team first attitude, the we before me, then we're going to be making sure that we're home at the correct time to make sure we get enough sleep every single night to make sure that we're performing our best for our team. Anytime you want to ride home, you got to fill out the athletic department sign out sheet. I think which can be found on our school website. We will also have copies at the games too. White jerseys, away games, black jerseys for home games. Don't wash them on hot. Use cold water. Don't put them in the dryer. Hang them up to dry, please. Anytime an athlete has a cast or a brace or something, we may need to get a doctor's note for those. So we'll be communicating through the parents and things on that. Make sure our kids are washing their practice equipment or practice jerseys and things like that. Parents, if you haven't washed something for 5 days, it probably needs to be washed. So please ask your student athletes to be bringing those things home and getting them cleaned up. Out of season sports, players assume their own risk by participating in sports outside of football during the football season. I know that boys are going to play basketball, shoot around and stuff like that, and that's up to them. They're making that choice on their own, and I have no control over it. I'm going to try my best to instill that the teammates and coaches on your team are depending on you, and the decisions you make can impact more than just yourself. So just remember that. And the last thing, to cut this hopefully not too long for you guys, keep up with our season on the Oaks Tornadoes Facebook page. If you have questions, please reach out. get in touch with me. My cell phone and email address are up at the beginning of this presentation. And the last thing is to remember that practice on Thursday, August 5th, will begin at 7 a.m. So please meet in the North Gym at 7 a.m. or before that, because that's when we want to get started, is at 7. And hoping for a very successful season. I'm excited, and I can't wait to get going.